Hello, good day. This is Behemoth, and this is another Idle Heroes video. And today we're going to talk about the 4 critical mistakes that early to mid-game players commit. And without further ado, let's talk about number 1, Split Splat. If you'd click on Celestial Island and then Cloud Island, Split Splat pertains to Cloud Island resource splitting. As you may have noticed, I already have 4 homeowners because I already have 2 max homes. But what if it's just the early game or the mid game? Should you focus on 2? Should you focus on 3? Should you focus on even 4? No. The answer is you should just focus on 1. Okay, my suggestion always to F2P, to mid spenders, is to focus on SWJ pretty early. Why? Because she does not need a lot of resources and should enable you to finish Vortex and should also enable you to have some good progress in Void campaign pretty early. Now, you should build her houses, her tenants, to around 80-ish before you move on to your second homeowner. Usually, people's second homeowners is LFA or Lord of Fear Aspen. But if early you're going to have like 3, 4 homeowners and you're going to have them at 30, 30, 30, 30, then that's not going to work for you. Okay. It will not benefit you in any way. Why? Let's just say that you're pushing Vortex or Void Campaign. And if the speed requirement is 2,250, and if your main homeowner just has like 50-ish homes, and if the speed is not up to that level, then you'd have a hard time finishing that level. So if I were you, again, the reminder is to always just focus on 1. And if you think that your first homeowner's speed and attack are already at acceptable levels, that's when you start building your second home. But never your third early, nor your fourth, okay? Do not do that. Number 2, is your pet trying to kill you? Number 2 pertains to void pet choices. And let's take a look at the void pets that I currently have. I have 14 in total. I have the complete old void pets, and I have 2 of the new ones. Now, let's rank them by importance early to mid game. It's a consensus that the whale is the best out of all. Why? Because the whale gives you a huge damage boost because of its 9.7% increase in all damage dealt at level 140. Okay, so again, this is number 1. And number 2 is usually light. Why? Because it gives you another damage boost. Its holy damage is at 19.1% at level 140, and it would help you out in all game modes. Next, it's a toss-up between mage and assassin. Now, some people prefer early leveling of the mage pet. Why? Because it gives you CI offset of 12.9%, and it's huge if you're using LFA or Jara pretty early. Now, on the other hand, if you need damage and if you want damage, then you could go for the assassin pet. What does it do? It gives you maim. As you deal more damage to your enemies, then you are given an extra damage boost up to a bonus of 21.2% at level 140. And this is quite nice. And of course, this is much better than any of the other pets here. Now, what is the mistake that most early to mid game players usually do? It's leveling weird void pets apart from the big 4. What are these void pets that are not supposed to be leveled early? Shadow, Fortress, we have Ranger, we have Forest, and then we have Warrior. Now, Abyss is something that some people usually level up because it gives a nice boost to attack at 9.8%. I'm telling you, this is quite huge. But that is in the end game. In the early game, let's just say that your first Transcendence hero or first Transcendent hero is at 1 million attack. That's just a 98,000 boost. And that's nothing, of course, in the greater scheme of things. So if I were you, I will not level up Abyss early. My suggestion is to level up Forest as your number 5. Why? Because it will offer you a nice boost to your survivability. It gives you 12.9% HP boost at level 140, and this is nice, especially again in the early or the mid game. And on to number 3. 3 is a crowd. Your first 3 transcendent heroes will determine your progress in the early to mid game. And please do not start building weird heroes like Asmodel or Aranea or Sahi pretty early. You should focus on the 3 that will offer you the most progress. And here are my suggestions. Number 1, FQV. Not necessarily in order, of course. Number 2, we have SQH. And number 3, SWJ. These 3 will offer you the best chance to progress in VC early, and these 3 will also enable you to finish Void Vortex pretty earlier than the usual. Now, you must have a question in your heads. Why shouldn't we build Mockman or DTV? Mockman is a pretty nice hero in the end game. My Mockman has around 10.9 million attack, and if I switch him to all-out attack, he'd probably be at, I don't know, 11.5 or 11.6. Okay, but the thing is, he needs a ton of sublimations. Number 1. And number 2, in order for him to be effective, he needs a ton of attack. And if your Mach 1 just has like 2 million attack, it's not going to work out for you really well. And of course, DTV is the same, needs a ton of resources, and his homeowners, let's check his not homeowners, but tenants. Okay, his tenants are incredibly crappy. If you look at his tenants, we have SDE, Andrea, we have Trashilago, one of the worst heroes in the game, and Asrel, and then we have base Aranea, and then we have Asmodel, and a base Vulcan and a base Mockman. All of these are not going to help you out in any way in the early game. Okay, but again, if you take a look at SWJ, a hero that I usually tell people to build, okay, since you're going to build SQH anyway, then why not go SWJ? Since you need Elo to progress pretty early in the game, then you could immediately turn her into your tenant. And since a lot of people build SFX as well in the early game, why not? Okay, build SWJ as your first carry. And the thing about SWJ is she doesn't need a ton of sublimations. So you know, I got to 332 in Void campaign by only having her active as the one that's fully sublimated. All the others were blank. So again, please do not focus on weird heroes like Asmodel or Sahi early. And number 4, the infamous Cotman. What is COT? COT stands for Crystal of Transcendence, and it's the resource that you use to convert normal heroes to transcendent ones. But the thing is, if you'd look at the Gate of the Void and then go to the Compass of the Transcended, you will have a chance to get a transcending sphere either from guidance or fate. Now, if you click on conversion, A lot of early to mid game players usually make this mistake. You could turn your transcending spheres to again either caught or stellars, and they usually go caught so that they get transcendent heroes pretty early. The thing is, it'll make your account incredibly weak. Why? Because stellar shards are the single most important resource in the game. Okay, let's take a look at my hero list. So again, I have a ton of transcendent heroes, and almost all are either at T5 or at least T1. And in order for them to be leveled up to these, okay, you'd need a ton of stellar shards. First, you'd need to V4 them, and once they hit V4, you'd need to unlock your tree of origin for that particular hero. And leveling up the hero to T5 again requires a ton of stellar shards. And if you're gonna go caught early, yeah, you'd probably have like 15 transcendent heroes, but are they gonna be strong? No. So again, please do not be a cotman, okay? You focus on what matters, which is a ton of stellar shards. So let's have a quick recap, shall we? Let's talk about the 4 mistakes again. Number 1, split splat. Do not split your Cloud Island resources into 3 or 4 different homes. Just focus on one. And if you think your first home is already up to par, then that's the time that you move on to your second. Number 2, is your pet trying to kill you? Do not go for the new void pets because they are pretty expensive to make. Number 2, do not go for weird pet choices like dark or shadow or fortress or even warrior. You focus on the big four first, namely whale, assassin, mage, and light. And then you could go forest, and then afterwards, it's all up to you. Depends on you. Number 3, three is a crowd. Again, your first 3 transcendent heroes will determine your progress in the early to mid game. So please make sure that you don't build Machman or DTV pretty early. Even though they're extremely powerful, DTV is probably the best hero in the end game right now. But the thing is, he needs a ton of sublimations. He needs a ton of resource in order for him to be effective. Same with Machman. Lastly, number 4, do not be a Cotman. Do not go for crystals of transcendence. Always transform or convert your transcending spheres into stellar shards because stellar shards are the single most important resource in the game. Lastly, I have an announcement to make. Pantheon, the alliance that I'm currently a member of, is celebrating its anniversary this February. To that end, we're giving away prizes to our commenters and our subscribers. So please keep your eyes peeled for more updates in the coming week. Pantheon, just so you know, is an alliance that's comprised of a lot of different guilds. I'm part of Helios, but we have a lot of different guilds like Thanatos, Hydra, we have Styx, we also have Chronos, amongst others. And it's a pretty nice community. We're like family here. And if you're interested in joining, please comment. And if you satisfy our requirements, we'd send you an invite. Okay. Shout out to my fellow Pantheon members, Sleepy, Naomi, Rad7, and Hades, amongst others, of course, whom I have omitted to mention today. Also shout out to my fellow Pinoys in the community, namely Bangclot and Phantomin. And also, I want to acknowledge the support of my Agimat friends, okay, namely Shin, Gab, and Trex. If you like this video, please share and subscribe. This Behemoth signing out. You guys have a great day.